Is it normal for your weight to fluctuate day to day? The answer is yes, absolutely. Let's talk about why. So there's a few reasons why there's actually a lot of reasons why your weight can fluctuate day to day. So I want to bring you through a few of those so you can understand that, so you don't get flustered and you see the scale go up one day and you're really concerned with why that's happening. So there's many different reasons why the scale fluctuates. One of the first reasons is your hydration status and your electrolyte status. So when you are, depending on how much water you consumed one day or how much salt you had one day, that can actually cause fluctuations within your body weight, and it can actually cause you to hold on to more water or to release more water. So for example, if you went out to dinner one night at a Mexican restaurant, Mexican food tends to have a lot of sodium in it, and you might wake up the next day and see the scale jump up like 2 pounds, and you're like, what the hell is going on? That typically could be because you just consumed a lot more sodium than you're used to, and that can cause the scale to bump up a little bit. It can cause your body to retain more water, and so that bump in the scale is just water weight. So that's one of the common reasons why scale fluctuations happen, is that just the difference in your hydration and electrolyte status. Another reason why the scale can fluctuate day to day is just because of the amount of food you've eaten. So there can be a good amount of food residue in your gut that can change day to day, and this can be determined by what types of food you ate. So for example, if one day you ate a lot of fibrous foods or a lot of fibrous veggies, you could have a lot of food residue just kind of sitting in your gut the next day, and you may not have fully digested that. So when you wake up in the next morning, you might just have a lot of food kind of sitting in your gut area, and that can actually cause the scale to go up. So it's not fat that you're gaining, it's just food residue in your gut. Another reason is your frequency of bowel movements. So if you've ever weighed yourself and then gone to the bathroom and weighed yourself again, you could see that you've maybe lost like 1 to 2 pounds, and that's completely normal. So bowel movements, the frequency of them, whether you've had them or not, that can also determine, if you wake up in the morning, you weigh yourself, that number could go up or could go down. So frequency of bowel movements is going to be another one that can dictate if the scale fluctuates day to day. Another reason why the scale can fluctuate is due to carbohydrate intake. And the reason for this is because we know that when you consume carbohydrates actually hold on to water in your body. So every gram of carbohydrate holds on to about 3 to 4 grams of water. So especially if you go from, not consuming a lot of carbohydrates and then you consume some carbohydrates, maybe you go out to dinner and have pizza one night after following a week of, maybe lower carb, and you wake up on Saturday morning and you're like, what the heck? The scale is reading like 3 pounds heavier. It's not that you gain 3 pounds of fat overnight. It's that those carbohydrates that you consumed the night before, your body is just holding on to more water, because that is what happens from carbohydrates. It's just a natural process. So don't be afraid of the scale. If you consume some carbohydrates and you notice it goes up, it's just water weight. It's not fat gain. Another reason why the scale can fluctuate day to day can be determined by whether or not you've worked out or not, what type of workout you've done, if you're new to working out. And so I'm going to unpack that a little bit. So a few reasons why your workouts can affect the scale. One of them is if you are like completely new to resistance training. Say that you either took a long time off from lifting weights, or you're just getting into lifting weights. You could actually see the scale go up for the first few weeks because your body is adapting to that new stimulus. And so it might be holding on to a little bit more water and a little bit more inflammation that could cause the scale to go up. So if you are someone who just started lifting weights recently, or you've taken time off and you're starting again, you can actually see the scale go up just because your body is holding on to a little bit more inflammation. And to piggyback off of that, if you had like a heavy leg day, I know for me, whenever I have a heavy leg day when I'm working out, the next day, the scale actually tends to go up like clockwork. So sometimes I know, like, if I have a leg day and the scale didn't go up the next day, I'm like, I didn't work hard enough. That's not always the case, but the reason for this is because when you're working out, especially when you're working muscle groups that are large, so your legs, like a lower body day or a leg day, that's a big muscle group, right? Your legs have lots of big muscles in them. So when you're working them out, you're basically breaking down your muscle fibers, right? And so you're creating like micro tears in your muscles. And so that is gonna cause little bits of inflammation. And so if you are working big muscle groups and you wake up the next day and you see that scale go up, that's probably just because you're holding on to a little bit more inflammation. And that goes hand in hand with what I mentioned about, if you're new to resistance training or you're coming back from a layoff, you could just be holding on to a little bit more inflammation, a little bit more water weight, and that can actually cause the scale number to go up. Another reason why the scale can fluctuate day to day, if you're a female, your menstrual cycle can play a huge role in that. Our menstrual cycle, our hormones are fluctuating throughout the month. We could be holding on to more water at certain times. So, it's very different for everybody. I tend to see like for women, there's some research that says that different parts of your cycle, water retention is gonna be a little bit higher. From personal experience, I found that it's different between, individuals. So just in general, knowing that, during different parts of your cycle, water weight can actually increase, and so that can cause the scale to fluctuate a little bit more, and you might see that the scale goes up or it goes down. And so just paying attention to those trends over time for yourself can be beneficial. So if you notice that, you're tracking your scale weight every single day, and you notice that like clockwork, every, week out of the month, there's a huge increase in the scale, that could just be because of your cycle. So just taking note of that and, being aware of that so you don't freak out if you see the scale go up a certain time. That is something to just make sure that you are paying attention to, because it can be a little bit scary. So your menstrual cycle can absolutely play a role in, the scale fluctuating day to day. So just making sure that you're aware of that is going to be beneficial for sure. Another reason why the scale can fluctuate is due to stress and sleep. So if you are super, super stressed out, if you are not sleeping, we tend to see that our main stress hormone, which is cortisol, can be elevated. So if you have elevated cortisol levels, it can actually cause you to hold on to a little bit more water. So if you had a crappy night's sleep, if you're just like super stressed out and your cortisol levels are high, you might wake up the next morning and see that scale jump up. So just, realizing if you wake up and you weigh yourself, and the scale goes up, you're thinking about, okay, did I sleep well? Did I have good quality sleep? Am I super, super stressed out? All of those factors can affect what that scale does. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. So those are just a few of the reasons why the scale can fluctuate day to day. Again, it's super normal for that to happen. It's part of being a human being. So if you are using the scale to track your progress, the biggest thing I can tell you and the biggest tip I can give you is just make sure that you're tracking your weekly average scale weight. So don't pay attention to the daily fluctuations in the scale. Make sure that you're just paying attention to that weekly average or even that bi-weekly average, because that's what matters. When we're looking at the scale, whether it's to lose weight or gain weight, we need to just make sure that we aren't getting too caught up on those daily fluctuations and we're paying more attention to the trends over time, because that's gonna be what's accurate. Also, you wanna just make sure that you realize that, the scale is not the end all be all. Looking at other metrics such as, taking body tape measurements, looking at progress pictures, taking progress pictures every month and comparing those month to month, seeing how your clothes are fitting, just how you're feeling in general. Those are super, super helpful metrics to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. So the scale is not the end all be all. Daily fluctuations are absolutely normal. You just need to stop paying attention to them, because I promise the daily fluctuations do not matter at all. Pay attention to the weekly averages, the bi-weekly averages if you're gonna use the scale, and also pay attention to other body composition metrics that might even be telling you more of what your body is doing in terms of changing. Because I tend to see that tracking body tape measurements, tracking progress pictures, those are gonna be really, really good determinants of if you're actually losing body fat versus just weight. Because your body composition could be changing and the scale might not even be changing that much, but you could look completely different. So just make sure that you're aware of those things as you're moving forward. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more about nutrition, fitness, or metabolic flexibility, you can check out our website, metflexlife.com. There you can find our podcast, MetFlex and Chill, our nutrition and exercise programs, our latest blog posts, free recipes, and much more.